we're learning a fantastic technique, which is called RAIN, or RAIM. It was developed by two women, Michelle McDonald and Tara Brach, and it's a way of dealing with difficult emotions that recur. So last week, we saw what a Lama named Lama Yeshe says, to become your own psychologist, you don't have to learn big philosophy. All you have to do is examine your own mind every day. You already examine things every day. Every morning, you look at the food in your refrigerator. So why not check out the state of your own mind? Welcome, Amy, Susan, Havis, Jess. It's so great to see everyone. I'm so glad you could all come. So the key idea of this style of meditation, that it's insight meditation, is that it's insight into you. You can go into meditation wanting to investigate a particular issue, or you can just let your mind wander and see what happens. And as you become more and more adept with the practice, insights will start bubbling up from your subconscious. And a revelation, and some of these revelations can be really surprising, and some of them can be really upsetting. And because of those upsetting issues is why these two women spent the last 30 years or so developing this RAIN method that we're going to do today. So what RAIN does is it helps you identify negative emotions, breaks down a cloud of confusion into discrete units, and then locates them on the body and makes them your neighbor, or at least something you're approaching as something to investigate instead of being engulfed by it. And that's why I call this method Hello Darkness, My Old Friend. So if you think of how painful events and memories commonly and directly trigger your fight, flight, freeze response, what RAIN does is shift those things from the reptile part of your brain into the thinking part of your brain. So you understand what's happening instead of being consumed by feelings. And doing this when you're in a peaceful meditative state allows you to get closer to problems without being overwhelmed by them, and draws on your subconscious and your deep memory and the intuitive side of your brains to fix these things. So today, we're each going to pick a recurring issue that we want to improve or fix in some way. The categories you should probably choose from, the ones that have the most success in this method, are stress, anxiety, anger, depression, and hopelessness. So you might want to pick something about a family member that's always bugging you, or heartache over a broken relationship, or grief over someone you've lost. Maybe there's a repeated stress or anxiety you have over work, over money, or over the future. It could be depression and anxiety about a medical problem, could be just worries about getting older. Maybe you're in some kind of conflict and you have repeating thoughts of blame or resentment, or you might be feeling insecure about your job, how you're performing, and Kurt, you're unmuted.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
There you go. Thanks. Okay. So what you're going to do is pick one of these things, something that recurs to make you unhappy. And you can even pick an addictive behavior of being online all the time, or going shopping all the time, or doing some distraction. The one thing to not pick is PTSD or trauma. There is a cure for CBT, PTSD, cognitive behavioral therapy for PTSD, and it has a tremendous success rate, and it uses some of the techniques we're going to be using today, but it's 9 sessions. It's 9 sessions. It requires someone very trained in it who can very patiently and calmly take you into coming in contact with that trauma, and we can't do that today. So I'm going to explain how this works now, and then we're going to do it again during the meditation. So you don't have to, just so you can get an overall feeling of how this works. So RAIN stands for, the first part is recognize. And when you, after we get into a nice, relaxing meditation, you're going to find where this feeling is that you'd like to fix, and you're going to identify it as directly as possible. And the more specific you can get, the better. Because a lot of these feelings have a lot of other things happening inside of them. And the more you know about them, the more successful you'll be in using this technique. For example, I decided to use rain about my divorce, and that was too vague. So then I decided to use it about the moment when I knew the marriage was over and failing. And when I picked that turning point, all these other feelings popped out: anger and anxiety and depression and grief. So having a specific notion of what you're trying to do and being able to recognize it once you face it is the first point. The A in RAIN stands for allow or acknowledge. And this is a very key idea. You're approaching this while you're in a calm state so that instead of being overwhelmed by the emotion or having it just repeat over and over again exactly the same way, you're sort of trying to be patient with it and accept that it's part of life and just let these feelings or thoughts just be there without trying to fix them or avoid them or run away from them. Try to have the sense that you've had this issue in the past. You'll probably have it again in the future. And it's something to accept and try to learn about instead of running away and avoiding. What you want to do is be as non-judgmental as possible. The more you feel like everyone goes through this in their life, it's part of being human, the more you'll be able to honestly connect with these feelings. And if something is particularly deep or painful, you may in fact have to go back to being on your anchor and doing your meditation and try again. The I stands for investigate. And this is where you're going to learn more and more about this sentiment. And the first thing you're going to do is locate it on your body. You're going to find that no matter what emotion you pick to confront, there's a physical manifestation of it. So, for example, in my experience, depression starts as like a heat wave that heats up around my ears and lips, and then it goes down to my shoulders and settles into my chest. Whereas happiness or joy moves the opposite direction. It rises up from my shoulders and lands in the top of the head. And the moment I stop analyzing this and looking at these things, they start to abate. And that's what happens during this process. The overwhelming quality of these things, the more you investigate and get to know them. For example, if you want to use this, you can also use it for pain. And let me just do a pain for you. So you're going to find out, where exactly is that pain? Is it sharp or is it blunt? How does it come and go? Um, what where does it attenuate? Where does it get stronger? Does it rise and fall? All of these kinds of things. And the same thing is true for emotions. Where does it come from? How does it get stronger? How does it get weaker? Where do you feel it? And you're sort of like being a junior scientist investigating this issue. And finally, the last part is called nourish, because frequently when we confront these bad feelings, we end up feeling bad. And this, you shouldn't feel bad at the end of this process. So you should congratulate yourself for going through this, and you should respond to any suffering you had with empathy and kindness. You can even try to sense what the wounded or frightened or hurting place inside you needs and offer some kind of care. Does it need reassurance or forgiveness or just companionship or a sense of love? So at the end, you really need to have some self-compassion for what you've been through. You can even say, I love you, I'm listening, it's not your fault. You can stroke your cheek or hug yourself or anything you want to come back from doing this um, process. Okay, so let's begin. Let's sit in a comfortable way so you're alert and upright, but also at ease. Close your eyes and inhale all the way through your nose, filling your lungs, and exhale through your mouth with pursed lips. Now start at your toes and move up through your body and look for any places of tension or pain and try and soften each one of these spots and relax them. Now try to numb your entire body, especially your head, and focus just on your breath. Open your mind like a clear blue sky with your thoughts and emotions like clouds passing through. When you feel relaxed enough, settle down into yourself until you find the real person that you are deep inside. Now bring to mind a difficulty that you've encountered, some situation or circumstance that brings up hard emotions, fear or anger or hurt. It could be a current situation where you feel emotionally stuck. It could be something that makes you regularly angry, anxious, or self-judging. It could be trouble in a relationship, a conversation you're sorry you had, something painful that you're thinking about over and over again, something that comes up around work that makes you feel like a failure or jealous or having anxiety. Now, with whatever situation you've chosen, take a moment to enter the experience, to trigger it. Visualize the scene, remember the words spoken, sense the most distressing moments. Remind yourself of the worst part of this, what you were afraid of or distressed by. Getting in touch with the star's essence of the story is the starting point. Let yourself enter enough into that situation so that you can get a full picture of what's going on and what's really bothering you. Just recognize it and focus on what's happening. You could ask, what is happening inside me right now? And pay particular attention to whatever emotions are strongest. Take a moment to note whatever feeling is most predominant, such as anger or guilt or fear. Now try to be life. Now try to allow life to be just as it is. This is the A in rain. And what you're going to do is just let the experience be as it is. Make space for it instead of trying to fix it or get away from it. Just acknowledge that it's there. Don't judge, push away, or control anything. Tell yourself to let it be or just say yes. It doesn't mean you like something. It just means you're willing to experience the reality of the moment. If what you're doing feels too intense, go back to focusing on the breath, focusing on relaxing the body, and then returning to the emotion. Now let's start to investigate. Begin to explore what you're experiencing more closely, calling on your natural interest and curiosity about your inner life. You might ask yourself, what about this most wants my attention, or what most needs acceptance? Pose your questions gently. Make your inner voice be kind and inviting to yourself. And while you're doing this, pay attention to where in your body your experience is the strongest. It might be your throat, your chest, your stomach, your head. It can be helpful to ask, what is this part of me believing? You might sense that you're failing in some way, that you're flawed in some way, that you're unlovable, that someone will reject you, that if someone is acting like this, they couldn't care about you. And identify, hashtag the emotions you're having: fear, anger, grief, shame. Some people are helped by having their bodies and faces reflect what they're going through. You can actually let your expression or your posture mirror what you are feeling. Are there any other sensations you're aware of? Is there aching or twisting or burning or squeezing? Now focus on the part of you that's most troubled or most affected by this feeling and ask, what do you need? How do you want me to be with you? Does this suffering part want understanding, acceptance, company, forgiveness, love? This is the final part of this method, the N or nurture. Some call on what they call their high self or their future self or their true nature to address this wounded or hurting part. How would your higher self respond to how you're feeling now? You can offer yourself a message such as, I love you, or it's okay, or I'm here, or thank you for trying to protect me, I'm okay. Try to experiment with ways of befriending your inner life, whether it's with words or touch, images or energy. Discover how your attention might become more intimate and caring. And if you find it difficult to offer compassion to yourself, you might bring to mind another source of loving, a person who you trust, who cares about you, a spiritual figure, your ancestors, a part of the natural world, or even just a formless presence that envelops you in care. After offering this unconditional nurturing to yourself, become aware of the quality of presence that's emerged. Do you notice more of a sense of spaciousness, tenderness, and clarity? Do you feel any different from when you started? Can you sense how who you are is not identified or hitched to any particular wave of fear or anger or hurt? Like an ocean with waves on the surface, feel yourself as the tender, wakeful openness that includes this changing life. Sense the possibility of relaxing back and being this awareness. Let the waves on the surface belong to your experience, but not stain or alter the measureless depth and vastness of your being. And take some moment to just rest in this awareness, allowing whatever arises in your body or mind to freely come and go. So come back whenever you're ready. Thank you for giving me your time. While you return, let me tell you a little poem by Woman Huikai from the Sung Dynasty. It goes like this: 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life.